Hello there everyone and welcome back. Today I want to show you how I'm making these really simple tags. I like to do simple things but make it look as though I've spent hours on them, but actually they're really quick. So I'll give you a close-up. So I've used the Tim Holtz paper dolls, and I've used a Tim Holtz stamp as well, but you can use whatever it is that you've got. Now over here to the side I've actually got loads ready to go in different stages. So I've got sort of these all ready to go, and I've got these ready to go as well. They just need some finishing touches. Alright, but I'm going to show you from scratch how I went about making these. I started off with some packaging. Now here in the UK our biggest craft shop is called Hobbycraft, and they do a selection of papers, and I don't know whether they still do, but they used to come in this kind of packaging with all these strips of the papers that were within the side the pack, and that's the back side of it. So I'm using this as my base for my tags. Now I realise that not everyone is going to have access to this, but there's no reason why you couldn't make your own, because if you have a look, they're just strips of the actual card. So you could lay down some strips of your own papers onto a piece of cardstock in a similar kind of fashion, and it gets the same results. Or you can have a look at other packaging that you've got and see what you could utilise. So I'm going to pull this off and I'm going to use this back cover. And I'm going to cut this down into 2 or 3 strips. How wide are these? Hang on, let me just check. So this is 8 1/4 inches wide, and the tags that I made were 2.5 inches. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7.5. So I couldn't get 3 strips out of this. So I'm going to cut them down to 2.5 inches wide. Let's pull that sticky tab off. Oop. So 2.5 inches. And again. And again. And then I'm keeping this little strip for a little bit later on. So now I need to cut them down lengthwise. So obviously I can't use this bit because it's where the sticky hanger was. I can use that bit, but it might look a little bit odd with this bit of writing on. So I'm going to chop them down to, let's have a look, 4 inches, round about 4 inches in length. So this one I can keep it as it is, so we'll do 4 inches there. And again. And again, I can keep this bit and use this a little bit later on. So I'm just going to do the same with the other strips, and I'll see you back here in a sec. So these are the 6 tags that I've cut from that front cover. But I need to decide which way round I want them, because this one, for instance, the dark brown at the top, I prefer it at the bottom because it adds that little bit of weight to show that it's the bottom. And I think maybe, yeah, the same with that one, same with that one. And I think I'd prefer that way round, because I think this is a bit of a boring colour, whereas that's an interesting colour. Yeah, same with that one. So that's the way round that I'm going to utilise them. I've got my piece of plastic card, which I've cut out at 2 different angles on each side. So one's slightly wider, one's slightly narrower. So I'm going to use the wide version, and I'm just going to chop off each of the corners, because if you're not very good at keeping things very even, or you're a little bit more particular about things being even, this is where this card comes in really handy. Some of you are quite capable of just cutting the angles off and being happy with it. So I'm going to go off and go and cut all of these down. I'll be back again in a minute. That's those all chopped up. So I'll keep them off to the side. I'm going to use my little foam mat, which is foam from the kids section in Hobbycraft. And then I'm going to use the fragments stamp. I love this gothic-y sort of look about them. So I think I might use this one. Yeah, let's use that one. We'll stick it on the block. Are you going to stick and stay? Ooh, it is. Now, because this card's got a finish to it, so it's not shiny, but it's quite smooth, but it's got a finish on it. So it means that probably ordinary inks, like your distress inks and your oxides, probably wouldn't work on it very well and would end up rubbing off. So I would suggest either using your archival ink or your stays on ink, which is a permanent ink. And I like the stone grey rather than the black sometimes, because I think it just gives it a softer look. And so I will ink up these, or this. Make sure I've got a really nice covering of ink. And I like this particular one because it forms like a corner. So then I can get my tag and then stamp on it. And it doesn't matter if it goes off the edge of the tag. Just allow that ink to transfer. And there you have it. Now, it doesn't always have to be up in that top right hand corner either. So you can do it at the bottom. You can do it on the left. So let's do this one this way around. Do that one from the bottom. So again, you can see, and I just need to leave them separated for now to make sure that that ink has dried on them. So whilst I've got the stamps and the ink out, you know these bits, these scrappy bits that I said I was going to keep? Well, basically all I'm going to do, if I show you the right way up, is I'm going to stamp some numbers on there. So these are the Tim Holtz ones, so they're a lot deeper. So I'm going to have to take those off in a bit to be able to use this one, because obviously it's a lot slimmer. But I'm just going to randomly print these off onto here, stamp them off, and then I can cut them out as and when I need them. And then that uses this piece up and it doesn't have to be thrown away. And it doesn't matter about where the colour splits if I get half of it on one side of the colour and half of it on the other side of the colour. So I'll just do a series of those along this strip, and then they're ready to cut up and add onto the tags. And those are now all ready to use, and I can cut those out as and when I need them. This next step isn't necessary, but I just think it adds a little bit of an extra touch. So I've put some scraps of paper on each of the edges here. Right, but as you can see on this one, I didn't put any scraps of paper on this one, so I'm going to do it on just one of them so that you can see how it looks. Let's use that one and that one. And I've got a little box of scraps of paper in here. In fact, I had a flick through and saw some papers that I thought would be suitable. That one, and possibly that one. Yeah, maybe that one. There's another one that I saw. Oh, look. Ooh, that'd be quite nice. Like that. Some music paper. Some green. So I'm going to use my rule to rip the paper, and I only want them quite narrow. So what's that, about 1/2 inch ish. And I'm not worried if it becomes jagged like this here. In fact, if it does that, all the better. So again, on the opposite side, look, you've got the bit where it's tore away from the other piece. On these, I actually ripped them by hand so that I did actually get those jagged bits. I'm going to use my Tombow glue. Again, because of it being that shiny sort of paper. Let's just have a look, see which ones I want to use. So that one may be underneath and this other one on top. Yeah, alright, so let's ink those up. And I'm only inking it up because it just helps to define the edge, and it gives it some depth. So I'm going to put a line of glue on the tag first. And then sit that on top. And then a line of glue on top of that paper. And we'll sit that on top of there, making sure that I've got it in the right spot so that it extends beyond the tag shape. And I can turn it over and trim off the excess. As I say, you don't have to really do this, but it does add just that little bit of extra something. Put that on there. So next thing I need to do is to choose my Tim Holtz personage. This is a book that I did do a video on. I showed you how I made this, which is where I store all my Tim Holtz people. So as you can see, I've got my ladies, and then I've got my men, and then I've got my couples. So looking at this one, I think because of this base here and this line, you want someone standing up. So she would stand then on the edge of that line, whereas if I chose someone who was sitting down, that's a little bit too low, and then she hangs off the edge, and up there's too high. So the sitting down personage on this particular one isn't going to work. So I think we'll put her on so she looks as though she's standing on the pavement. Put some glue on the back of that. And a little dot of glue on her feet and her legs. We'll stand her about there. And then these little things, what colour do we want? I think this one. I'll chop it down because it's a bit too big. Then that could sit on there. inking up the white edge of the card, not the front. I'm not inking up the front because it'll just smudge, but I'm just covering over the white edge of that card. Got my little foam doofers. Put them on the back. And again, this just adds another textural element because of it standing proud from the card, because we put those foam pads on it now. Where do I want it? I don't want it up the top. It's a bit there. Okay, liking that. And then I've got my ribbon punch. And that's what this is, for those that are asking. This is a ribbon punch, ribbon weaving punch. So then it forms two slots at the top. You see how it forms those two slots there, which means that it makes a nice place to add a bow. So I've got this aubergine colour of seam binding, which I think will look nice with this. Now, someone asked me to show them how I make my bows. Well, let me just tell you that I taught myself this, and it's actually a bit of a fluted way. Need a bit more glue on there, and it does take a bit of practice. I'll show you, but you will need to practice it. There are easier ways of doing it where you form two loops, you know, like when you're teaching little ones how to tie up the shoelaces. That's going to squidge out. Yeah, thought as much. Get rid of you. Okay, I'm going to zoom you in closer so that you can see how I make my bows. So I'm right-handed, so I'm going to do this side. If you're left-handed, you would do it from this side. So I'm going to fold it back on itself to form the loop, and then pinch it. Okay, then this comes from behind round to the front, and I'm holding it. It's awful doing this slow, so that you can teach someone else how to do it, because it doesn't work. Hang on, let me get myself sorted again. Right, so now it looks like that on the back. So I've got this sat over my finger. Right, so that loop there that I've just wrapped around is sat over my finger, and then this end I'm then going to double back on itself through that loop on the back, and then I can grab hold of it and pull it. Now I'm going to pull them down to get a smaller bow, and I'll probably need to do that again. So pull it down. It's going to be awkward. It's because I was doing it slow for someone else to see. It's going to be like, no, I'm not going to behave myself. And I'm going to curl round. Don't normally have to fiddle. Right, I'm just going to do it. Okay, let me tie a knot first. Hold it in place. Okay, And I'm just going to do it at my normal speed. Right, so I pinch that, wrap that round. I'm doubling this back on itself, popping it through that loop on the back, and then I can pull that through, pull that down. I'm holding onto the knot as I'm pulling it down, and then pull it in tight again. This seam binding is not wanting to play. There we go. That's better. And then I can chop off those angles. As I say, it takes a bit of practice. And probably best not to practice with seam binding because of all that shredding at the end. Probably try it with some narrow ribbon. And there you have it. One very simple tag. But it does look quite effective, doesn't it? And as though you've done loads. So we'll do one more. This time I'll do this one without the strips of paper on the side. So let's choose a paper doll. Again, this looks like I could have someone standing up. That's a bit high up to have someone sitting down. So let's see what we've got. Yeah, quite like him there. So we'll stick you down on that. Glue, glue, glue. And then he can go over there. And I mean, again, if you get words, stamping words on your excess little strips of paper like this, I think I might quite like that one. Again, the same one, but because it's longer, I think it'll work better. Make sure I've cut that straight. And no, I haven't. Okay, trim a little bit of this excess off. And this time I'm going to stick that sideways on down there. So again, we'll just ink up the edge. Foam pads. And take on quiet. It's because I'm concentrating. Okay. And then that can go there. Okay, so I think that this one will be perfect. Use my little ribbon punch. I mean, the thing is with these tags, you can go as crazy as you want with them. I mean, you know, you can keep adding and adding and adding all these different layers to them. So I mean, like the children ones especially, you could have them in the centre and put the wings on, you know, the butterfly wings or angel wings or dragonfly wings. You could stitch around them with the sewing machine. So really it depends on how much work you want to put into making these tags, or making any kind of tags, to be fair. Obviously those that have got lots and lots of layers look particularly impressive, but they've taken a lot of time to create those. And if you're a person who hasn't got a lot of time spare to be able to do that, then there's no reason why you can't do something a little bit simpler and it still look as effective. Sorry, I'm just messing with my bow a minute. So don't always feel that you have to create these wonderfully artistic pieces of art, because sometimes just the simple things work just as nicely as doing the slightly more extravagant things or highly decorated items. So there's 2 more to add to my little pile. Probably what I'll do is I'll ink around the edges. Again, because of the type of card that it is, I won't ink on the top of the card. I'll ink the white edges of the card, just to create again that balance, to just lift it up a little bit. But I hope that it gives you some inspiration to have a look at your packaging to see how you can utilize them. There we go, that's a bit better, isn't it? So cut out a tag shape out of a piece of packaging card, stamped on it, stuck a paper doll on it, stuck a number label on it, done. All right, so there's not a lot of work involved in that, and especially if you've got a lot of packaging. Stuff at the side of the table is going to fall off in a minute. It's sliding. Stay. And you can, do the prep work. You can get loads of these ready so that every time you've got a spare 20-30 minutes, you can pick these up, go through and stamp them all, go through and cut them out into tag shapes, go through and add on your strips of paper if that's what you want to do, go through and add on your paper dolls and your numbers, add on your seam binding, done. So I've got loads here now ready to just be sort of finished off and utilised. But yeah, really quick and simple to do. Anyway, as I say, I hope that's inspired you to have a little go yourself, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video. Take care for now. Have a lovely day. See you soon. Bye.